That proves right there that the other nations can't be saved. How are they going to set this up? The oppressive kings, and our gates are going to be continuously open. And the Lord is the destroyer of the Gentiles. How can they be saved? That doesn't make sense.
And if they're gonna be, if they was able to be saved, you know, the prophecy won't be fulfilled that you should go into slavery, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
And who's gonna be dashed into pieces?
Yeah. Who's gonna be dashed into pieces if the Gentiles can be saved?
Because I was going to say this too. Even when
Revelation 2:20-26. Who's that talking about?
right, I was just going to say this to prove that Gentiles are Israelites, right?
The one that can obtain salvation.
Right. The Lord said that all Israel shall be saved. Nowhere does it ever say about the other nations being saved.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yep.
It never said that. So don't take no pictures of us. You can take pictures of the signs, but don't take no pictures of us. I said don't take no pictures of us. You can take pictures of the signs if you want, but don't take pictures of us, all right? But go ahead, read it again. I was just making the point that to prove that the natural Gentiles can't receive salvation is the Lord said that all Israel shall be saved. If it was true that the natural Gentiles, being the other nations, could be saved, it would have mentioned that. It wouldn't just have said the destroyer of the Gentiles. It would have said, but some can make it. You know, it would have said something to continue the statement for that to actually be
Yeah, it
true.
tells you each tribe of Israel is going to be saved.
Right.
Okay? But does it say that about the other nations?
But it never says that about the
It
other
doesn't
nations.
say that about the so-called
Never.
white man. It says that Esau is going to be destroyed.
Right.
It said the slain of the Lord shall be from one end of the earth to the other.
Right.
That's Jeremiah 25.
And really to understand that, if you go a verse up, if you go jump a verse up, Romans 11:25, it says, as a matter of fact, so let me read it real quick. Because this is a good indicator on who the Gentiles Paul was really referring to, right? It says here in verse 25, water. It says here in verse 25, it says, "For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel." Now wait a minute, blindness. What is that blindness referring to? Loss of heritage, not knowing who we are, not following the law, statutes, and commandments.
Hosea breaks that whole thing down.
Exactly. But then if you continue to read, right? If you continue to read, it says that blindness in part is happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in.
So it's talking right there that the Gentiles right there is so referring to Israel. To the fullness of the Gentiles come in.
And what made them a Gentile? Being blind to what? Their nationality, their heritage,
And
their language.
Israel went off.
Israel went off.
As soon as Israel stopped worshiping the Most High, the Lord turned his back on them and said that you're not my people. So if you're not my people, what? You're what? Goyim, right?
Yep.
So,
Right.
Goyim. So you're a Gentile.
Right. So then Paul concludes the statement by saying this, and so all Israel shall be saved. And so all Israel shall be
Until the
saved.
fullness of the Gentiles come in. So all Israel shall be saved.
Right.
The Gentiles right there are the Israelites that the Most High turned their back on. And they turned their back on the keeping the law, statutes, commandments, and the scriptures.
Right.
Okay?
And
what made them Gentiles.
Right.
Okay?
An example of the time of the Gentiles be come in is us coming back into the truth. Us coming back to who we are. Because we were once Gentiles at a point, right? When we were in our ignorance. But now we know we're Israel.
So
All right?
we're not Gentiles anymore.
So we're not Gentiles anymore.
Israelites.
That's why the Lord's getting ready to redeem his people. Because the elect is waking up. The 140 is waking. The 144 got to be woken up. The 1/3, okay? The Lord's chosen people are being woken up. Therefore, the prophecies are starting to speed up. Okay? For that reason, and because if it were not so, the white man would try to take everybody out, including himself, like it says in Matthew's 22nd chapter. Or Slakia, Matthew's 24th chapter, the 22nd verse. So the Lord's speeding things up. He's speeding up the prophecies. That's why America cannot economically get its shit together, so to speak. Financially, America's continuing to be destroyed. Economically, America's being destroyed. Spiritually.
Legalize gay marriage now in New York.
All right, yeah, now you're allowing gay marriage, so you're giving the Lord more reasons to destroy this place. See, because he ain't gonna just come down here and just start wiping things out. He's gonna allow things to happen so he could justifiably condemn this bitch. All right? So he's using the spiritual demon Satan to get on you to do all this wickedness to speed up your own destruction. Because you really think that it's to enslave everybody to your bullshit, but really, guess what? It's to further and to increase and speed your destruction, Esau. You elites, you Rothschilds, Rockefellers, okay? The so-called Illuminati. It's for your destruction. All right? Because you ain't gonna implement your martial law 100%. You ain't gonna implement, okay, your New World Order 100%. You're only gonna get so far, all right? And the Lord's gonna take you out, all right? Y'all got scriptures?
Just real quick, I got a scripture to prove that
Bring it out.
the Most High calls people heathens.
All right, go ahead.
Just real quick. Second Ezra 2 verse 33.
Right.
I, Ezra, received a charge of the Lord upon the Mount Horeb that I should go unto Israel, but when I came unto them, they set me at naught and despised the commandment of the Lord.
Yeah, so wait a minute. That's a heathenish move, right? Because the heathens, they weren't given the laws. That's why they were heathens. That's why they were considered beasts. That's why they didn't have laws. That's what separated us from the other nations. So by them declining the law, that's a very heathenish thing to do, man. All right? That's being like the heathen. Go ahead.
And therefore I say unto you, O ye heathen,
There it is, all right? So Ezra's called them what? Heathen. Go ahead.
that hear and understand, look for your shepherd, he shall give you everlasting rest. For he is nigh at hand, that shall come in the end of the world.
That's right, man. So you see that? And there's also a scripture that's in Psalms, it escaped me, but it says that we were going to be like the heathen. And how were we going to be like the heathen? In our deeds, in our actions, in the way that we carried ourselves. Okay, because like we mentioned before, the whole duty of man, the whole duty of an Israelite man is what? Following the law, statutes, and commandments. So once you go outside of that, you're a what? A Gentile or a heathen.
That's how the Lord looked at you.
Right.
And then after the years, it's only take 15 to 20 years to really for you to lose your identity. Okay? So once a certain amount of time passed, and it can pass in that little 15 to 20 years, okay? But over generations, you're going to be keeping the customs of those nations whose lands you're in. Okay? And that's what makes you a Gentile.
Yeah.
Okay? So Israel, among the other nations, are learning the customs of the other nations, and over the years, they forget who they are.
Right.
They're Gentiles, and they're going to be looked at as Gentiles because they're keeping the gods of the Arabians, which are Ishmaelites, they're keeping the gods of Moab, keeping the gods of the Zidonites, okay? So they become Gentiles because they're keeping their customs, they're keeping their language. Right?
It also says that Israel should be scattered the four corners of the earth.
Yeah. And over generations, they lose their identity, and they become like those people of those lands.
I read precept real quick. This is 1 Corinthians 12:1. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. Verse 2. You know that ye were Gentiles, carried away unto these dumb idols, even as you were led.
Yeah, so the idols they were carried away to, they were in the other nations, worshiping idols. Worshiping idols in Arabia, worshiping idols in the land of Moab, worshiping Greek and Roman gods. Look at the list. Acts the first chapter.
And it says here, you know that you were Gentiles, as if like once you were a Gentile, now you're no longer a Gentile. Now if a Gentile meant another nation, how can you just automatically transform and out from another nation? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, it said they were Gentiles.
So what it essentially meant was, you were a Gentile, meaning you were following these other philosophies of the other nations. But now that we woke up, like this brother said over here, we were once all Gentiles until we woke up to this truth.
Yeah, because the actual Gentiles are going to be destroyed, okay? They're not going to obtain salvation. Okay, the so-called white man is going to be destroyed.
That's right.
Here in America and around the world, you're going to be destroyed. Your women, your children, all of you are going to be destroyed, okay? You are the Gentiles when it pertains to destruction, okay?
Right.
We're the Gentiles where it pertains to salvation.
Another title for Yahweh Shah is destroyer of the Gentiles.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. The lion of the tribe of Judah. He's known as the destroyer of the Gentiles. So how can the Gentiles be saved? Obviously, there's more than one type of Gentile.
Right.
Okay? Very simple.
And Israel is scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. So you mean to tell me Paul, he went to the so-called white man when Israelites was in Rome? Or he went to Arabia, he went to damn Ishmaelites. He went to the Israelites. to bring them back to their nationality.
Precept. Psalms 147:1. Praise ye the Lord, for it is good to sing praises unto our power, for it is pleasant and praise is comely. Verse 2. The Lord doth build up Jerusalem, he gathered together the outcasts of Israel. He healeth the broken in heart and bindeth up their wounds.
The other nations aren't the outcasts of Israel.
Right.
Okay? He's talking about the Israelites that went away, that lost their so-called religion.
That's right.
Okay? Outcasts of Israel.
Psalms 147:2.
Outcasts of Israel are the Israelite Gentiles. Okay? And the Israelite Gentiles are going to look like the other nations. Okay? All the Israelites aren't going to come looking like me. Okay? We're looking like him. Okay? We're looking like what you think a Puerto Rican looks like.
Yeah, you hear that's a bitch?
Is a bitch. Isaiah 11 verse 10. And it shall come to pass, there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for the exile of the people, to which shall the Gentiles seek.
Yeah, the Israelites that lost their religion, that lost the laws, statutes, and commandments. Because in Hosea, it tells you right there that the Lord said he's going to turn our back on Israel, and Israel wasn't going to be the Lord's people anymore. But in the land it was said, you're not my people, there you should be called you the sons of living power. So if the Lord said you're not my people, that means you're Gentiles. Read that again.
And it shall come, and in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an exile of the people.
The root of Jesse is talking about Yahweh Shai, so-called Jesus Christ. That's the root of Jesse.
To it shall the Gentiles seek.
And the Gentiles are the Israelites that went off keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. Exactly. Yeah, that links up with 42, Isaiah 42, and Matthew 12th chapter. It tells you that you talk to the Israelite, you call them a Gentile. Okay, and it was prophesied in Isaiah the 42nd chapter. Well, we can get that.
Isaiah 11 verse 11. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time.
First time he's with the apostles, okay?
To recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Patros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea.
So in the second time he's going to round us up throughout the earth, mainly here in America, on the Western Hemisphere. He's going to bring us back to the nation of Israel, okay? He's going to bring us back to being a people again, to being a nation, a whole nation. But 2/3 is going to say that 2/3 should be called and die. Okay? Zechariah 13 and 8. So there's going to be a lot of Israelites that are going to be put to death. Okay? You better hope you're one of those Israelites in the wilderness.
And he shall set up an exile for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel.
So it's some of the outcasts of Israel. Another word for outcasts of Israel is an Israelite calling himself a Greek.
Right.
Okay? That's an outcast of Israel.
Yup, and they were cast out of their land. That's why Ephesians 2, the second chapter, it said he brought them back to their, to their heritage.
That's right.
And gathered together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all right. He can walk on that one. It's all
The
right.
dispersed of Judah, okay? Remember, when Israel dispersed, they don't know who they are. If you dispersed, that means you lost the law, statutes, and commandments. You don't know that you're Israelite. You're assuming over the generations that you're of that nation where you are. Okay, so you call yourself another nation. You call yourself a Greek. Okay, you call yourself a Roman. You call yourself a Libyan. Right? You call yourself a Syrian. Okay? So the outcasts of Israel are the Gentile Israelites, or excuse me, the Israelite Gentiles.
This is Psalms 106 verse, I start at 33. Because they provoked his spirit so that he spake unadvisedly with his lips. They did not destroy the nations concerning whom the Lord commanded them.
Yes, because Israel got weak. Israel got weak, and Joshua warned them that if I just read that. Joshua warned them. He said that if you can't serve these demons, these other gods, and the Most High, because he would not forgive your transgressions. Us being in America is proof of that. Because he didn't forgive us back then. He turned his back on us, and we're not the Lord's people anymore. Okay?